Hi, so in this video I'm going to be going over game 2 from prep test 23. There we go. All right, so we have 7 applicants. We have F, G, J, K, L, M, and O. Okay, they're the only applicants being considered for some positions at a nonprofit. Only applicants who are interviewed will be hired. So if hired, then interviewed. If not interviewed, then not hired. The hiring process must meet the following constraints. If G is interviewed, then Jackson is interviewed. So if Jackson is not interviewed, then G is not interviewed. If J is interviewed, then L is interviewed. If L is not interviewed, then J is not interviewed. All right, so these guys could link up through J, right? So we can see, we can link those ones. F is interviewed. All right, so if we have our interviewed group, our not interviewed group, and we also have our hired group, that would be our diagram. F is interviewed for sure, okay. And then F is not hired unless Kowalski is interviewed. So if F is hired, then Kowalski must have been interviewed. And if Kowalski is not interviewed, then F is not hired. Right? So that's anything that has the format not A unless B is actually the same as saying if A, then B. Okay. We can also look at it as transforming unless into if not, and then we get if not B, then not A, but the contrapositive would be if A, then B. So we would get both of those triggers, both of those statements, either way we look at it. Okay. So, Kowalski's not hired unless Meyer is interviewed. So if K is hired, then M is interviewed. And if M is not interviewed, then K cannot be hired. If M is hired and Lee is interviewed, then O is hired. And if O is not hired, then either M isn't hired or L isn't interviewed. Okay. So definitely more complicated than your typical in and out game where we just have an in group and an out group. The in group is kind of split into those who are just interviewed and those who are both hired and interviewed. But we do know if you get into the hired group, then you must also be in the interviewed group. Okay, so that's how that relationship would go. And if you're not in the hired group, or sorry, if you're not in the interviewed group, then you can't be in the hired group. Okay, so that's how we could kind of work in this initial conditional statement that we got from the little blurb at the beginning. Okay, so that's the setup for this game, and I'll do some of the questions in my next video. But if you do have any questions about the setup specifically and how I arrived at any of these conditional statements, just let me know, send me an email, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you're watching this in real time, I will be on vacation for Christmas for a few days. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions.